Have you ever felt like you're reading something really important, something you want to get, but the meaning just sort of floats on the surface?
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Well, today we're taking a deep dive into a practice that's meant to change exactly that, specifically when we're talking about the Quran.
Ah, right. You're talking about Tadabbur, I imagine.
Yeah,
It's this concept from Arabic.
exactly.
It's all about this really deep, thoughtful reflection, going way beyond just, reading the words aloud.
So it's not just reading.
No, no. Think of it like walking through a familiar park, but this time you actually stop. You notice the individual leaves on a tree, maybe the sounds the birds are making, things you just walk past normally.
Okay, I like that analogy. And to help us get better at noticing those details, we're drawing on Les clés du Tadabbur, Comment réfléchir profondément sur le Coran. It's by Sheikh Yousef Wahb and Sheikh Mohammad Elshinawy.
Right, the keys of Tadabbur, and their whole aim really is to give us those keys, those tools, to unlock a much, much richer experience with the Quran.
Yeah, it seems like they're trying to help us change our whole relationship with it. Not just a book we read, but something that really resonates.
Precisely, something that shapes how we think, how we live. That's the goal they're putting forward.
And that's really what this deep dive is about for you listening. We want to help you get a more meaningful, more personal connection to the Quran's messages. Doesn't matter where you're starting from.
Yeah, it's not about becoming a scholar overnight or anything.
No, definitely not. It's more about those personal aha moments, when something just clicks and feels like it was meant for you right now.
So if you've ever felt that the Quran wasn't quite speaking to you personally, well, Tadabbur is presented as the way to build that bridge, to get that spiritual nourishment they talk about.
Okay, so let's dig into why this is so important. The authors make a strong case that just reciting, while obviously valuable, it might not be enough for that deep impact.
Right. It's like swallowing food without really chewing it. You've taken it in, sure, but are you getting all the goodness from it?
That's a good way to put it. They really seem to link the intellectual side with the spiritual side, don't they?
Absolutely. They argue the real transformative power comes when we engage both our minds and our hearts. It's a combination.
And they back this up with scripture. There's that verse from Surah Sad, verse 29.
Yeah, a blessed book we have revealed to you, O Muhammad, that they might reflect deeply upon its verses, Yadabaru, and that those of understanding would be reminded.
Yadabaru. That's the key word there, reflect deeply.
Exactly. And notice the phrasing that they might or so that they. It signals the purpose. This deep reflection isn't just one option. It's presented as the very reason for the revelation.
Wow. And there's a warning, too, isn't there, about not doing this?
Yes, in Surah Muhammad, verse 24. Then do they not reflect upon the Quran, or are there locks upon their hearts?
Locks upon their hearts. That's a powerful image. It suggests it's more than just missing out.
It really does. It implies that a lack of this deep reflection might actually point to a kind of spiritual blockage. The heart needs to be open, receptive.
Okay, now this next point, it really made me pause. The book mentions a hadith, a saying or tradition of the prophet, about the first people judged on the day of resurrection. And one of them is an expert reciter of the Quran.
Yes, it's quite sobering. But the key is why he recited.
Why?
The hadith says he recited so that it would be said, he is a reciter. He was doing it for recognition, for worldly praise.
Ah, okay, so it's about the intention.
Exactly. It hammers home that even mastering the recitation, making it sound beautiful, it only has real value if the intention is pure, seeking closest to God, spiritual growth, not just applause.
That's a crucial distinction. It's not just the action, but the why behind it.
And the authors link this Tadabbur directly to growing in love for God. They quote Sahl ibn Abd Allah al-Tustari.
Right, that beautiful chain. The sign of the love of Allah is the love of the Quran.
The sign of the love of the Quran is the love of the Prophet and the love of the Sunnah.
The sign of the love of the Sunnah is the love of the hereafter.
The sign of the love of the hereafter is aversion to worldly life.
And the sign of that aversion is taking only what you need for the journey. It all starts with loving the Quran through that deep engagement.
Precisely. So Tadabbur isn't just an academic exercise. It's framed as fundamental, a path to experiencing divine love, letting the Quran shape your whole outlook.
Okay, so the why is clear, but how do we actually prepare for this? They talk about spiritual detoxification. What does that actually involve?
Well, the basic idea is cleaning house, spiritually speaking. Before you can really grasp the Quran's wisdom, you need to clear out the clutter in your heart that might be blocking the signal,
It's like static on a radio.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
Or like clean a window pane so the sunlight can come through clearly.
They mention that verse, none touch it except the purified, from Surah Al-Waqiyah.
Hmm. And they discuss different interpretations with
Yeah.
the angels, but also the juristic view about ritual purity, wudu.
Right.
And the potential link is interesting. Perhaps our outward purification is meant to remind us of the inner purity needed to truly connect with the divine word.
That makes sense. Then there's that analogy from Ibn Taymiyyah, the heart as a house.
Yes, that needs cleansing. Cleansing from the dogs of desires and images of worldly pursuits. Only then, he suggests, can divine knowledge and love really enter and feel at home.
Wow, dogs of desires. That's vivid. It really points to how our attachments can be obstacles.
Definitely. Our hearts need a certain stillness, a detachment, to really absorb the message properly.
And it seems arrogance and clinging to sin are major barriers too.
Yes, they quote Surah Al-Araf, verse 146, about turning away those who are arrogant and unjust.
In Sufyan ibn Uyayna's interpretation that this can mean being deprived of understanding the Quran.
Exactly. It suggests a direct link. Bad character, specifically arrogance, can actually cloud our ability to receive guidance. Humility becomes essential.
There's another analogy too from Ibn Qudama, the heart as a mirror.
Right. The heart is a mirror. Desires are like rust or corrosion on it, and the Quran's meanings are the reflections.
So spiritual work is like polishing the mirror.
That's the idea. It's an active process. We have to do the work of cleansing and refining ourselves to see clearly.
So this detox involves things like genuine repentance, seeking forgiveness, trying to make things right. It's active spiritual housekeeping.
Creating the right internal environment, making the soil fertile so the seeds of understanding can actually grow.
And they wrap up this section with that beautiful supplication, the prayer the prophet taught.
Yes, asking Allah to make the Quran the spring of my heart, the light of my chest, the remover of my sadness, and the dispeller of my anxiety.
Just saying that prayer feels like part of the cleansing process itself, asking for healing through the Quran.
It really captures the essence of what Tadabbur aims for, doesn't it? That deep personal connection that brings light and peace.
Okay, heart prepared. Now, what about our approach? The authors stress taking the study of the Quran very seriously. It's not casual reading.
No, definitely not. And it makes you think, in our fast-paced, often informal world, how do we cultivate that necessary reverence? They emphasize the Quran as unique.
They mention the command given to past communities and prophets. Seize the scripture with force.
Right. Meaning with seriousness, dedication, full effort. It demands our complete attention and commitment.
It shows this isn't a new idea either, the serious approach.
Not at all. It's a consistent theme. Approach sacred texts with deep respect.
They also bring up that verse about striving against opponents with the Quran, using it in the struggle.
Yeah, Surah Al-Furqan, verse 52. It suggests the Quran isn't just for personal guidance, but it's also a powerful tool for engaging with challenging ideas, for arguing for truth, intellectually and spiritually.
And in today's world, distractions are everywhere. They really emphasize cutting those out during Tadabbur time, especially tech.
Oh, absolutely. That's probably a huge one for most of us. It takes conscious effort to carve out that quiet, focused space, prioritizing it.
They even mention scholars advising against interrupting recitation for casual chat. Based on Ibn Umar's practice, that shows real focus.
It does. The idea is to maintain the flow, the connection, not break it with mundane talk. It shows deep reverence.
And reciting at night gets a special mention, doesn't it? Because it's quieter.
Yes, Surah Al-Muzammil. Fewer distractions. That stillness really lends itself to deeper reflection. The environment matters.
And here's something important, quality over quantity. Repeating a few verses with Tadabbur is better than rushing through pages without thinking. Al-Hasan B. Alias is quoted on this.
That's crucial. It's not a race. It's about lingering, letting the meaning sink in, connecting with it.
And it's okay to use a physical Quran, a mudaf, or even a translation to help understand. That's reassuring.
Definitely. It makes Tadabbur accessible. You don't need to be a Hafiz or an Arabic expert. Use the tools available.
Also, don't try to do it when you're exhausted, right? They mention the Prophet sometimes asking others to recite to him.
Imam Ibn Baital explained this was likely to allow for better focus and reflection, Tadabbur. You need to be mentally present.
Right. Being receptive mentally and physically.
Exactly.
And finally, those points on etiquette. Sitting respectfully, not being hungry, facing the Qibla if possible, being pure, using siwak. Small things, but they add up.
They do. They help create that mindful, reverent state, shifting your focus, preparing your heart.
Okay, so we've prepared our hearts, adopted a serious mindset. How do we actively engage with the text itself during recitation or listening?
Right, because it's not passive, is it? It's an interaction. How do we make that happen?
Well, first off, understanding the meaning is vital. They quote Surah al-Baqarah about people who only know the book through wishes and conjecture. Just saying the words isn't enough.
No, it really stresses our responsibility to seek understanding, not just assume we know or hope we know.
And Imam al-Abari was apparently astonished by people who didn't look into tafsir, the explanations.
Yes. He couldn't understand neglecting the richness of the meanings available through scholarly interpretation. It highlights the value of seeking knowledge from reliable sources.
But again, they clarify you don't need to become a scholar yourself, right? Just seeking a basic grasp is the starting point for Tadabbur.
Exactly. It makes it achievable. Get the foundation, then reflect.
And watch out for Satan trying to put you off, making it seem too hard or risky. Ibn Ubayra's warning.
Yeah, that fear of misinterpretation shouldn't paralyze us. We should be humble, seek good sources, but still make the effort to understand.
Now, the way we recite, tartil, tagani, tajwid, slow, melodious, precise. How does that help Tadabbur?
Well, think about it. Reciting slowly, clearly, tarjul, gives your mind space to process the meaning. The melody, tajagani, can engage the heart emotionally. And correct pronunciation, tajwid, ensures you're actually saying God's words correctly, which brings its own focus.
So it's not just about sounding nice, it aids comprehension.
Precisely. And Ibn al-Jazari says reciting less, but with that thoughtful pace and reflection is better than reciting more without it. Quality again.
Right. Understanding and acting on it is the goal.
And Al-Ghazali even noted that non-Arabic speakers can benefit from that calm, measured recitation. It creates the right atmosphere for the heart.
Interesting. The Prophet emphasized reciting melodiously too, but there's a caution.
Yes, caution against getting so caught up in the beauty of the reciter's voice that you forget to think about the message.
Finding the balance.
Exactly. The melody should help Tadabbur, not replace it.
And simply listening attentively is also a form of active engagement, right? They quote Aleph ibn Sa'd and the verse about receiving mercy when listening.
Absolutely. Opening your ears and heart, even if you're not reciting yourself, is powerful. There's benefit just in focused, intentional listening.
Okay, this is great. We've covered a lot on the how. Now let's talk about the mindset. What state of mind should we cultivate for Tadabbur? This feels really key.
It really is. What's going on internally when we approach the Quran? The authors break it down.
First point, realizing you're uttering God's words. Truly internalizing that.
Yes. Understanding the sheer magnitude of it. They reference Surah Al-Qamar, the Quran, being made easy to remember, and Ibn Abbas saying Allah himself facilitated its pronunciation. It's a divine gift we're handling.
That awareness alone should bring a sense of awe, shouldn't it?
It should. And gratitude, humility. Malik ibn Dinar used to remind his students, you are hearing the words of the most truthful from above his throne. Imagine that perspective.
Wow, that definitely puts things in perspective. Okay, second point.
Examining behind the words. Tadabbur comes from do, the back of something, suggesting we need to look past the surface.
So peel back the layers.
Kind of. Explore the deeper meanings, the underlying wisdom, the nuances. It's not just the face value.
And this isn't just about brain power, right? It involves devotion.
Right. The deeper secrets, they suggest, unfold through sincerity, trust in Allah. It's not like cracking a code. It's about becoming eligible to receive the understanding through your connection with the divine.
And the Quran being Azuz, mighty, honorable, it won't just reveal itself to the inattentive.
Exactly. It demands respect, focus, genuine seeking. It's a treasure that reveals itself to the diligent and sincere.
Okay, third mindset point, the bird's eye view.
Yes, understanding the big picture. The main themes running through the Quran, Allah's perfection, his wisdom and law, the patterns of good and evil, heaven and hell.
Having that framework helps interpret individual verses.
Definitely. Seeing how they fit into the larger narrative. And knowing the context helps too, Makkan versus Madden revelations.
Right, like understanding the historical situation, persecution versus building a state sheds light on the themes. They gave the example of Ibn Abbas and Surah Al-Nar.
Understanding the timing and tone helped him realize it signaled the Prophet's mission was concluding. Context is key.
And studying the central theme of a whole surah, like Al-Kahf protecting against trials.
Yes. Seeing how the different stories in Al-Kahf, faith, wealth, knowledge, power, connect to immunize against life's big tests, including the Dajjal. It gives the surah a unified purpose.
And the word surah itself, meaning enclosure or door, encourages thinking about why these verses are together.
Exactly. Like Surah Al-Rahman, starting and ending with Al-Rahman, framing everything within divine mercy. Look for those structures, those unifying threads.
Fourth mindset, establishing parallels, connecting it to us.
Yes. Recognizing that the qualities, the struggles, the historical events, they have echoes in our own lives. Like Prophet Musa's fears, we experience fear too, seeing ourselves in the stories.
So the narratives become relevant, not just ancient history.
Precisely. They become sources of practical lessons, insights into our own experiences.
They even suggest comparing ourselves to the prophets, like Wahb and Sh reflecting on Ibrahim's plea. That feels bold.
It is, but it's meant for self-assessment, for growth.
Yeah.
Seeing the ideal and where we fall short or where we can strive, the Quran as a mirror.
And contrasting the righteous and wicked, or similar scenes like Ibrahim's sacrifice versus the Israelites and the cow. What does that achieve?
It sharpens understanding. Seeing the stark difference in submission, for instance. Comparison highlights key principles.
Okay, and the fifth mindset point, reflecting on personal needs.
Recognizing the Quran speaks individually. That verse, master of the day of judgment, might impact someone fearing judgment differently than someone seeking justice. It meets you where you are.
So it's a dynamic interaction based on our current state.
Yes, bringing your own needs, your flaws, your questions to the Quran, seeking answers and healing. But with the caution against doing it for show.
Right. The early Muslims emphasized living the knowledge, not just talking about it. Sincerity is paramount.
Always. Focus on personal growth, closeness to Allah.
Okay, so back to active interaction one last time. Effort is key, you said.
Absolutely. You have to seek the impact. It doesn't just wash over you passively if your heart isn't engaged.
And seeking refuge in Allah before reciting Audu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, that's an active step.
Yes. It's a conscious admission. I need your help, Allah, to clear away the noise, the distraction, so I can truly hear. It sets the stage.
Then there's pausing at certain verses for prostration sujud, when moved to tears, or to make supplication dua.
Exactly. These aren't interruptions, they're interactions. Responding physically, emotionally, spiritually to what you're reciting makes it dynamic.
Like the companions weeping or Umar feeling bad he couldn't weep during prostration. It shows how deeply it affected them.
It does. It shows the Quran wasn't just text to them. It was a living reality engaging their whole being.
And Hudayfa's description of the prophet's prayer, glorifying at verses of glory, supplicating at verses of grace, seeking refuge at verses of fear.
Beautiful example, isn't it? Letting the Quran directly shape your conversation with Allah in that moment.
Yeah. And finally, Abdullah ibn Masud instantly asking for more knowledge when he recited, "My Lord, increase me in knowledge."
Perfect example of immediate application. Hear the guidance, act on it. Turn understanding into action, into prayer.
So bringing this all together then, the main message seems to be that Tadabbur is this: active, thoughtful, heartfelt engagement. It's how we unlock the Quran's deeper wisdom and make it truly relevant to us.
Exactly. It's not just reading. It's interacting, reflecting, connecting. And it's not a one-off thing. It's a journey.
A continuous process of learning and growth.
Think of it less like reaching a destination and more like constantly deepening a relationship, letting its guidance continually shape you.
So for everyone listening, the encouragement is to try something. Maybe just one practice we talked about next time you engage with the Quran.
Yeah, don't feel overwhelmed.
Huh.
Maybe start with that sincere prayer for understanding before you begin. Or just slow down and really focus on the meaning of one or two verses. Small steps.
Even small, consistent efforts can make a big difference over time, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's often how the most profound growth happens.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. Think about a verse or a passage you feel you know really well. Now imagine approaching it next time with this specific intention. What is the personal message in this for me right now in my current situation? What insights, what secrets hidden just behind the familiar words might be waiting to open up for your heart if you really listen?